topic is residential areas in need of water conservation restrictions. Do you know how much your home lawn sprinklers use a minute? According to ABC Home and Commercial on December 23, 2013, they put out about 12 gallons a minute, which works out to be 2,160 gallons in 3 hours. You can see a representation of this on the second page of my slideshow. Our populated residential areas in cities need to be subject to water conservation restrictions to help save our invaluable Nebraska water. Today, we will take action to understand why the urgency of water conservation in populated residential areas by first soaking up the facts about the need for them, then unwind a plan to put our proposed restrictions in play, and finally, turn on the faucet to see the benefits and effects that new restrictions could have in populated communities. So let's first soak up the facts about the need for water conservation restrictions and guidelines in populated residential areas. Why would this issue pertain to you as an audience, you may be wondering? Here in Nebraska, agriculture is scrutinized to specific water guidelines, but in many residential areas, they are free to use anything on their lawns as they so choose. Do you think this is fair? Both residents and agriculture have contributed to in-stream flow needs here in Nebraska. According to author Mary Kelly in the September 2010 policy study in the Platt Institute for Economic Research, growing water use over the past few decades has led to concerns about maintaining sufficient in-stream flows for fish, wildlife, habitat, and recreation. Two areas in Nebraska highlight these concerns: the Platte River and the Niobrara. According to municipal and rural domestic groundwater transfer permits by the Nebraska legislature in 2017, the Groundwater Management and Protection Act states that water is for the benefit of all citizens, but legal authority can regulate the supplies and conserve and protect as needed. The Total Water Solutions Committee in the Nebraska Farmer magazine on March 2, 2017 recognizes this legislation and understands that water quality is priority over quantity. So when will we see this implemented by authorities? According to Terry Ree on November 15, 2016 in Eco Water Systems, Nebraska has the 6th worst waterway pollution nationwide. This is due mostly to pollution and nitrate levels in our various and vast waterways. Residential areas need to share the responsibility with agriculture as they freely leach a vast variety of pollution into the water system, which has to be sent through expensive filtration systems. Growing cities like Lincoln and Omaha have reverted to trucking and pumping water from other locations, which costs penalties and energy. This leads us to ask ourselves if this volume is necessary. According to the 2017 Annual Drinking Water Quality Report by Lincoln Public Works and Utilities, several million gallons of treated water are used to water lawns in Lincoln, which is pumped in. Something as simple as a leaky faucet can waste up to 788 gallons of water a year. More conservation tips can be found on the third and fourth slide of my PowerPoint. Next, we will unwind a plan to help put forward some water restrictions for highly residential areas and in areas where groundwater is at risk. Water conservation is vital in highly residential areas where usage and pollution have become a problem. Who wouldn't want cleaner drinking water at a much lower cost? Now, understand that agriculture is subject to limits on electricity and amount of water used in a year. But what about residential areas? When we compare an average lawn watering application to an irrigation application to a field, a lawn uses up to 3.6 gallons per square foot compared to a field that uses 0.62 gallons per square foot per application. This is outrageous, considering that fields are vital to feeding the world, according to the aforementioned article by ABC. The time for fair restrictions on residential water is more urgent because of the major loss of groundwater in Nebraska in the last decade. Reducing pollution is a major incentive because it also reduces the amount of filtration, energy, and money, as seen on the fifth slide of my PowerPoint. Water conservation is the responsibility of each city individually, since there are no state standards. Each municipality's needs are different due to ranging climatology. In order to regulate residential amounts, there must be water meters on extracurricular outdoor sources that are regulated by cities, certain days and times that certain areas can be watered, and finally penalties, fines for going over the city's set water limits, as seen on slide 6. According to the aforementioned article in the Nebraska Farmer, relatively small individual household water savings can represent significant conservation. Reduced residential water usage includes systems like flow restriction devices on water fixtures, shower heads, sinks, and toilets, as seen on slide 7. An overall emphasis and awareness of the value of water from organizations such as the Nebraska Water Balance Alliance has become valuable, creating a healthy longevity of one of Nebraska's most important resources is the most important thing we can do. Finally, we will turn on the faucet and visualize the benefits and effects that new restrictions could play in populated communities. By looking at the PowerPoint, you have seen water restriction devices that will help conservation if managed more efficiently. Setting new standards for water use can be controversial, but effective. On slide 8, by the Water Research Foundation, the chart gives you insight about the indoor uses in residential areas. There is also a map of the Midwest, where the most groundwater levels have decreased. The benefits of new regulations on water use in residential areas will be vast. Our ability to save a priceless and invaluable resource is the most important thing we can do. We can have cleaner water with hopes to make it a cleaner state and hopefully reduce negligence of this resource. On slide 9, you can finally see our world without water. We simply cannot exist without access to clean, healthy water. Today, we took action to understand why there needs to be set restrictions on water conservation in populated residential areas by first soaking up the facts about the need, then unwound a plan to put our proposed restrictions in play, and finally turned on the faucet to see the benefits and restrictions in play. Benefits and effects that new restrictions can have. Water restrictions would help reduce the amount of water and energy use to help protect ecosystems and prevent pollution of our drinking water. Think for a second about what you do at home. Sprinklers, showers, harmful chemicals down the drain, or disposing of unfinished water bottles can all affect our access to water. Take action today to prevent water chaos in the future. Start by changing your ways at home and encourage city officials to address the many harmful ways we abuse this resource and how to help.